All right, well, it's the quarterfinals of the Nations Cup. Only 8 teams left. We started off with, I believe, 23, and we're down already to the quarterfinals as the playoffs continue. And tonight on this mainstream, we're going to have Germany taking on Finland for an important spot up in the semi-finals. Both these teams storied histories in the Nations Cup. And joining me to see which of these two titans will be making it into the final four, we've got Demato on the cast. We've also got Stu and J-Max going to be helping us on the production. So how are you doing, Demato?
Yeah, guten Abend and hier bei Ilta. I'm not late, you're late, and I also had a little hiccup maybe in the background. I'm doing well, quite so well right here. 12 teams have successfully climbed out of the group stages, but 4 of those teams have already perished and have been eliminated since we had a round of 12 yesterday. Logically, we are only left with 8 teams for the quarterfinals, and you're left, as you already saw, with me here, which is quite professional already, you can tell, and Stu on production. We'll see what he will cook up, but Ben, I'm doing fine. I'm always happy to especially cast playoff stages since we see how those teams have collected their experience throughout this group stage. And quickly to end my monologue, I will introduce to you the storylines of both of those teams into a double time. Germany won week 1, 6-0 versus Belgium in Group C and got a default win versus Latvia in week 2. And week 3 was a tie against Hungary, while Finland in week 1 won 6-0 versus the Czech Republic. Week 2 was a sit-out for them because Group F only has 3 teams, and Week 3 was a default win with Saudi Arabia. Cool team, but default win? Nah. Round of 16, they played 6-0 versus Norway, so both of those teams have 2 official matches. Brilliant. So both have equal amount of experience in this tournament so far. But yeah, I mean, a bit of a cold start. We're still waiting for those players. So again, we're not late. They are. Ben, what's your prediction on this very first map?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because, like you say, there's not like a massive amount of data to go off. Like, I don't think Finland have been tested too hard. I think the Czechs maybe could have been a test for them, but they seem to have passed it with flying colours. It looked like quite a simple deal on their end. But they've been clean all the way through the big win last night against Norway, like you say. But actually, they may be not that late after all because we are going live. The quarterfinals starting right here. It's Gully Wash, and we've got the Finns taking it there, covered in blue colour. The Germans over there in the red. So see what's happening on this first mid for both these teams.
Menti is rolling out of the chokies at the moment onto the German side. Shocky and Voxtec along those scout classes just going to call them out, but then he's going to bombard the choke. The blue one, Curry is going to get piped. Empis or Ems even falling early on. Menti sort of has 3 players to look at him, but they all collapse there. Juno coming in with the save, and it means that only Voxtec is left alive onto 20 HP, has to get the hell out of there. But it was sort of a passive, passive play because they got completely bombed in their own choke, but were able to recuperate.
Yeah, it was nice work, and like you mentioned, Danny and guys are going for those huge bombs into his choke, and it almost worked, right? They did a lot of damage, like you said, but at the end of the day, like if you're not getting all those kills, you lose both your soldiers for it. Like with the player advantage, the Finns just able to turtle up, heal up, and then just take the push back in. And more importantly, catching Jonas on the way out into Big Door 2 means they've got a monster of an advantage to work with. Still almost 60%, so they can take lobby. Second point getting capped up soon, and they're odds on to have a good crack at a last push here.
They don't need to hasten anything since they all get fair, nicely and squared, healed up since they have this large Uber advantage, still 40% as they push in right now. Going to have an early flash, flash onto Derpy Hoof since F got dropped in this entire Uber. You mentioned it, and they don't really get all that much done. Only the Sentry Gun Warden was dealt with, but the jumps come in right now. Gezi, Danny, 3k shared between those 2 soldiers. Only Juno left alive.
That was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? Over for the Finns, right? Losing their flank scout on the way in was not part of the plan. Losing so much damage. Yes, they milked through the shutter for a little bit, but that Uber, quite frankly, didn't get very much done at all. As everyone else outside the Uber was getting picked off and picked off. They lose everyone. Robert goes down late. They've got Am's sniper to try and salvage something over towards Jonas, who's now the one sitting with a big Uber charge advantage. And as the push comes towards me, there's a sniper to contest with the Uber charge flash straight through the choke point. That sniper will not be a problem.
Menti did not find anything. Jonas was popping onto him as soon as they lost their own choke territory and were crossed to the enemy team's choke, but only Ems really falling from that. Was on sniper, by the way. So a 40% advantage now flips in the favor of Robert and his squadron, while the midpoint was safely secured by the German team. I might be tempted to say that it might slow down a little bit.
Yeah, it all depends on what the Finns decided to do with this Uber ad, right? Like, it is an Uber ad, like you say, but it's not a huge Uber ad. They have to be very, very careful with how they use this one, but it seems like they're interested in going on this Uber charge used straight through Big Door. Big bomb in there from Derby, who's over towards the choke area. Going to trap everyone out, but no frags going the way of the Finns on this one, which is super, super important because Jonas now is 100%.
Got nothing done with it, and it was easily relayed as information that the Finnish team would push from this big door side. They were also passive. Also, Shocky is dancing on top of Cory, going to be the victim, however, as the Germans rotated to the midpoint and they completely rotated the enemy team. But let's see who can come out on top here. The pincer movement did not work on the side of Ems and F, and therefore they clean house here. The Germans on their own second point. Juno, Cory falling. No progressive and defensive soldier play into play anymore.
And they lose the demo late as well. The Finns, I really thought they were looking so good that the soldiers in enemy second, like, it looked menacing, but losing both those soldiers, losing the demo man super late means, yes, they do still have about a 20% advantage, but with a sniper in forward spawn, demo man dead, like, I'm really not so sure what they can do with this, if anything, because Jonas is going to have super soon, and yeah, Junior has actually walked out of spawn on the sniper, so that to me signifies that they're not too interested on making use out of this advantage.
It was a lovely idea. The fault really lie within the execution, and I don't know if you monitored that, whether or not that rotation of the Germans was plucked out of contingency or if it was a willful action, because it seemed for me that they were always surprised that they ended up in this position. But as a matter of fact, both Ubers have equaled out. Cory is going to get peppered a little bit, but relays that information that the German squad is assuming a Victor position into Juno, who's on sniper.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Having a sniper on the defensive side of this hold, you often see it a lot on the attacking side, but that means it's going to be one less soldiers posted on these choke points. They're going to take full advantage of the Germans walking in with an Uber-charge exchange, but one player in the midst of that Gazi going to be catching a couple of rockets there, a couple of scattergun shots, and is going to go down. As Uber-charge has traded off, though, down to equal, but one player advantage for the Finns. Do you reckon they go for something here?
They have a sniper still in the field, so it can be difficult. You also want to allow him space, only peeking in the choke right now. Juno incrementally trying to get a position developed, so Gazi will spawn in time, Menti staring them down long range, and this pick fades into insignificance since they were not fast enough to enable their own sniper. They're still building, but Germany is taking Victor once more.
Yeah, absolutely, and
now choking it. Oh! It really catches Cory off guard.
Yeah, no soldiers now at all, especially Juno on sniper. This could be dangerous. This could be super dangerous. Derby, who's going down to everyone going down over on the Finnish side. It's absolutely massive from the Germans. Losing one demo man, not even able to pop off their Uber because Jonas didn't even have yet second point getting capped. So this is surely round number one going the way of Germany.
Calamitous for the Finns. .de spells the last point being kept for the Germans. Brilliant rotation there, honestly, catching out Cory, and then Gazi I think that was jumping the river area, and that flowed right into the Finns as they lost the demo man and the medic also falling down. I think it was close to Uber, but it was an absolute collapse after all of that. 1-0 for the Germans.
Great stuff. Well, last time we saw a pretty good lead over from Finland, to see if they can bounce back in that regard, as the soldiers of the Germans had a game fairly aggressive, doing a good amount of damage, but it seems like Robert doing the damage until Robert gets caught out. Okay, Danny and Jonas, last two alive. Jonas not able to build as Danny is just behind on second, gonna be taken down very late on that one. But by the time the spawn comes in, yes, it's gonna be about 50-ish ad, but it behooves he's already over there in lobby, setting some aggressive traps up. Midpoint's going to be capped up. Second may also go the way of Finland here. And if you're the Germans here and you're getting, you've got Uber ad, but Uber ad on your own last is so hard to make anything work with. And Ams is already in anyway. Ams, you monster, Ams! Oh, I thought he was going to get two there. That would have been huge.
You see, head and intelligence wins against DM. Maybe not. But the Solemn Vow still claims M's life and secures Jonas' life. I'm also not biased at all, but the Finns really won that mid-fight and they're still keeping on winning. 10 HP only onto Jonas. Did not force that Uber, Shocky and Danny down for the count, however, but inconsequential is this damage onto Jonas so far. Also, they're having some funny talk there in the chat. Robert is going to catch up on the Uber.
Yeah, Robert's going to catch up, and Ams has actually made it all the way behind into lobby. Going to be getting pinned out surely by Shocky and Danny. But Cory there to trade out. Okay, 2 for 1. Nice hold there in the lobby from that German flank. But this has been so sketchy. Multiple points here for the German side, especially Jonas getting taken down to single-digit HP. But as they push their way in, they don't care about that. They want to take the ground. They want to take as much space as they can. Danny nice big rockets there over towards Robert is going to mean that the Finnish Uber is popped out super early, and Jonas just doesn't want to use. Jonas just lives out the entire Uber in choke, and 100% hard.
I mean, wonderfully played. Also, you see how they have the coordination. Corey's going to jump in though, but he is going to get spotted so easily and early that he doesn't find a singular damage number onto Jonas. He was holding onto it, he was not forcing, and why would he? Only F was in his face. I mean, a lot of lesser medics would have used, but he completely trusts the team composition and his concrete players. Juno is still up about and probably open for the pick in lobby, going to blow himself up, and Shocky Gazi claiming that frag. The point is going to get kept. 20% advantage. They have to be clinical. They have to be quick. I'm pretty sure that they won't make it in time. Never mind, the sentry gun is going to get dealt with.
Oh, Ubercharge and Robert about to come up with the Ubercharge. Pyro on the point is able to block for a little bit longer after they're on the heavy 2. He's able to fire some very important minigun rounds over towards his attacking players. Might buy some more time with no demo man up. It's going to be so hard to hang on to this point, and they won't be hanging on to it. The Germans 2-0 up in under 10 minutes. And what a push. Like you say, it had to be quick, but they didn't care about the Ubercharge coming from the Finnish side because, you know, there's only a Pyro and a heavy. You can just all hide away, wait it out, and recap.
And they also didn't overcommit themselves. After they saw that the Uber was popped, they were still in decent positions to recoil, kite it back, and rotate them out onto the high ground. And afterwards, a heavy has 450 HP, but Latifi is constantly peppered and shot by 5 players. Menti doesn't really watch Ems as he's charging him head on. Early demo man pick. Gazi is going to fall. Juno is also a victim to the bolt of Jonas' crossbow, as he's going to get chased upon right now, since only 2 players left alive, and Voxtech in a sort of a peril there on the midpoint, going behind. They lost their own medic in the result of that.
Yeah, it was a rather funny ragdoll there. Jonas' arrow just pinning Juno to that like ramp slide area above Big Door, but that's all they're going to get, just a little giggle on that one, because Jonas died very late there, and Voxy has died even later, trying to go for some sort of funny spawn camp, I think, all the way back into the lobby area over on the Finnish side. But we've been here before, right? The last 2 mids have both gone Finland's way. This one, again, very comfortably towards the finish. They've been in situations like this before, and they haven't been able to convert, so they're 2 rounds down at this point. There's only a third of the game left. They've got to work their way back in somehow, and you can only get so many of these positions where you're big advantage into last. You've got to start converting them at some point.
I know our viewers are waiting for it, but let's see if they can tumble it over the finish line. No, never mind, they're going to get dealt with completely by the Pyro, but Voxtech falling. Can the Finland team finish off this point? F is still on it, and Curry is shot perpetually weak. Big pipe from Derp. Yes, completely plucking him out of the air. This long term DM fight might favor the Finns, as they have good focus fire. F is going to jump onto that point. Shocky being down low. Jonas not healing enough, and the final player in water also too weak to step onto that point. Makes it 1-2.
That was much more comfortable than these previous last pushes we've seen from Finland, right? They had such a great bit of work there. Caught the Pyro early, could have been a nuisance right in those shutter plays, but Voxy dealt with very fast, and then just locked out the spawns and dealt the damage they needed. Waited until the moment was right and just got all the frags, but can they get another big mid win? Because it's been 3 for 3 so far on these Finnish mids, but it's not the start that they've been looking for. Both soldiers going down without a frag to their name, and that might spell the end of mid-fight number 4 here for Finland, as they're trying to back out towards Big Door. And how their players even going to get out here? Seems like Ams is juggling about how is Ams still alive for so long there. Gets a kill into Gazi. I'm not quite sure how that's allowed to happen. But Derby Hooves, Robert, they're all the way back onto last. This is not gone the way the Finns have wanted.
It's a complete U-turn if you only monitor the mid-fights, as Curry only finds an overhealed Voxtech, who is getting shot quite weak by 3 decent rockets and the splash going on alongside it. And since Robert survived that mid-slaughterhouse, he has full 100% Voxtech already going into water, and Juno is assuming this ring position and going to spam out. It's a pretty normal meta game, even with the Pyro class. Ems is watching it, and it might slow down again. Menti is trying to spam some stickies over, but they're not really getting into position. I feel like Voxtech isn't even spotted. Now he's spotted. Going to take some rockets that instigate him to walk out. And
yeah, Gazi's looking to be alive there. Corey pumped in and did a good bit of damage. But like you say, it slows down in these positions. There's plenty of ways you can attack and go to last point. And getting someone down into water is normally involved in a lot of those, right? Just the threat of a constant backcap, a threat of potentially sneaking up and catching someone from behind. As actually, the Germans, they're playing two players in water this time, and Sticky's going towards the point. This is fairly telegraphed, it has to be said. A big air shot there. I believe it was Juno who hit a really nice rocket onto Danny as the push comes in, but Juno isn't appear with their life, so going to be 2 for 1 for now. But And I don't think we see anything here from Finland, right, in terms of pushing out, in terms of going for anything crazy. But I'm more interested to see what Voxy and Danny do on their respawn. Do we see anything anything funny, any man treads, any pain train, any off classes?
What I do like, we have Juno on the spy having that same idea than you have, and watching if they have any off classes. But I like when there's downtime, since I wanted to have 1 or 2 points still about this mid. The difference was that the Finnish soldiers didn't get all this damage. They got cleaned up so easily. Danny is onto the last point, never mind going to take 2 rockets. But the stickies come in, 4 players falling down. Danny's still alive, Jonas completely out. Well, in the open, since he's on the second point and going to that midpoint, 5 players die, have sort of similar spawn waves. But yeah, I mean, Jonas did survive, but that was a pretty failed last push, or well, suicidal wave, which means you're back onto mid. What I wanted to say earlier, those Finnish soldiers seem to only bomb, you know, to force the eyes onto them, and then the scouts rush in, but that sort of didn't work on that mid fight. But we're on a sort of similar situation once again, second to mid.
Yeah, well, the flankers actually made a lot of ground here over the German side. They've already got Gazi all the way into top lobby. They've got Danny into lower lobby as well. Shocky ready to go Baby Dora as well. Big Dora has been completely conceded here from Finland. This is super, super dangerous if you're on this Finnish side. These players behind, they can be such a nuisance to you. Like, one player drops here and he can be curtains almost for this hold, and Robert is going to have to play it very, very far back behind this point. But Junu is the one to go in above and is sent on the duties behind and is able to get that kill over into Gazi. So the pressure now has been loosened quite a lot. Danny's escaped out through Baby Door 2, so the moment of threat there really well dealt with as Finland have regained control of their own lobby.
On the off chance that Gazi is going to spawn on off class, obviously he won't. Also, Jonas sort of dropping down there a little bit and going to take his heals into the big door area, and yeah, I also see a directed ring out, but the battle for big door is still commencing, and he decides that maybe that is not the weapon of choice in that current scenario, but again, poking and prodding a little bit in the big door area.
Yeah, the directing would have been quite wild to see. I would have loved it. I welcome any and all sort of like weird rogue off-class and off-weapon choices, I guess. It would have been good to see, but no, decided to stick with the tried and tested original.
Oh, Emper's going to get cleaned up in choke. He was a bit alone there, really battling Gazi, who then jumped back into the choke. He created so much space there, and then he completely uncountered 4 jumps through. Perfectly executed by the soldiers.
Yeah, really nice force coming through there from Danny from behind, and yeah, that's all it takes, right? Just everyone takes their eyes, apart from Ams, I guess, away from the choke area, and just people can start bursting their way in. There's now potentially a bit of a challenge on here for Germans to get in unscathed onto this second point. They are a soldier down, of course, with Danny sacking in for that original force, but it seems like his challenge succeeded so far from the German side, as they're able to cap up this point. Gonna still have 50% advantage to work with into last, and looking pretty good for them as they're getting walking through under the Ubercharge, getting used super early.
Opting for the main push. Dubhu's already down to half HP, but does survive for so long. Workstack is going to clean him up, and he's going to get so much cap time. Curry has to spiral toward that point, and a lot of German players are still on the beam, still alive. 5 times cap on that point, 87%, not enough onto Robert. Again, differently played this time, but the success formula was, once more, have your players stay alive, get the heals dished out, get 1 or 2 frags, you know, and then it allows you all that much needed space, and a lot of players then have to assume roles where you create another opening. But 3-1, it's still 13 and a half minutes left, so still enough time, I guess.
Yeah, especially these mid fights have been going for the Finland side. If they're going to be getting successes, it might come off the back of another one of these, but this time been a bit of a slower affair as Buxy's finally taken down. Danny going to be jumping behind in drop down. I wonder if they're aware of this one. Seems like Ams is perfectly aware of that, but 2-1, this player's already fighting all over the place here. Like, what is going on?
Jonas is perpetually going to get shot at by Dopey Hoofs. I mean, there are a lot of players getting cleaned up. Also, Danny and Shocky still weak in the Finns choke, going to get bombarded by Juno as he propels himself directly into those 2 stragglers. Only Danny really left lonesome alone on the low ground, but a lone ground, I suppose. Dopey is still weak, but I mean, 2-man pick here, maybe Emp is also going to spawn.
Yeah, these two players are quite late spawners though, right? So there is maybe a tiny, tiny window of opportunity if you can get the shutter trapped off, or if you can start threatening things in lobby, that you can potentially cut this team in half. And Juno getting a kill into Ghazi as well is going to make that task so much easier for them. As the bombs come in, the pressure comes in onto the medic.
Yeah.
Jonas 12 HP, but he's able to survive and does not press that right mouse button. Jonas, the second time this game has gone down to such low HP, but you cannot force Jonas.
I mean, he has the complete trust into his own capabilities and technical abilities, and also alongside with his team, he's vibing together. Decent and even better Uber trade on the sides of the Germans. Only had to flash once onto their own pocket scout, onto Voxtec, who dished out the damage onto the players that were not Ubered, and Robert had the very questionable duty of flashing 2 or 3 players, since they were not really sure what player needed to take that Uber. Also, Ems, I always say genius minds work in different ways.
What even happened? Was he in chat?
He
got
got
stuck on the thing in River. Is that like a stuck spot in River?
I mean, it's so precise. If those comms are so precise, you know, in Mumble, then I'm not confused at all or surprised. That thing in River. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's crazy stuff. Well, the Finns, they still want to smell blood. They still want to bomb into new monster shots. We said Jonas doesn't force, but you can't force if you don't have Uber. Those rockets were sublime, and it doesn't matter that they're down a pocket scout. If you're going to be running in and hitting rockets like that, it does not matter at all. The Finns now looking in really good stead. Low HPs all around on this German side with no medic to heal, no medic to buff or arrow or anything, as Uber finally forced out here, and Robert going to be coming into mid, cleaning up this point, but all the frags going the way of Finland off the back of a fantastic bomb.
Still, the late force from Danny will manifest into an equal Uber percentage situation, so that is a sort of a last salvaging or saving grace I can give to them. Fantastic double shots though by Juno, who realized both scouts were down and the rest of the players were preoccupied with 1 or 2 other players that were coming through choke, but yeah, in the midst of that 83%, I think that was onto Jonas getting completely plucked out of the air, and Juno being a bit lonesome and weak in the shutter area, battling Menti, but that gambit did not really get any team any advantage here, so equal Ubers once more and the Finns in the driving seat.
Yeah, with 10 minutes left, there's not really a rush just yet on getting something working here, but Gully Wash Last can be a bit of a slog, as we've seen for some moments earlier on in this game, so we'll see what Finland have got to uncork for this one. Is it going to be off classes? Is it going to be pressure onto the point like we saw Germany have success with? But whatever it is, it's going to start with losing 2 players just to spam
he's on 2 HP. Yeah, I mean, you know, you only need 1 HP to survive, and I'm not even sure if they push off that, even though 10-second spawn wave still, so quite low spawn wave. Danny tries to shoot some trouble up, but the troublemaker gets culled. Scouts on 5 kill streak. F really keeping his own and protecting his own team. They tried to counter-sec here. No, never mind. Curry is sort of just spamming the sentry.
Yeah, Juno spawning up on the sniper too is maybe that was the idea, right? Is Juno was going in for some sort of sack play to, you know, use the opportunity to get an off-class in, but going to be the one spawning up as Am went down 2, but this time they're a frag up. Foxy, the engineer, is taken. That's made the gun so much easier to spam, and it's so much easier to get a force when the gun isn't there to help you out, as Jonas gets caught out on that one. Gonna have to use and gonna have to run all the way back out, as Ams and Corey did pay their life for that, which means they're going to be there's a bit of a time wait here where they're going to have to just sort of sit and chill on the Finnish side, but they're getting another really good opportunity at a last push here, and like I said before, there's not ages left in this game, so maybe this could be a very important one. Juno also taking the opportunity to run back and change back onto Soldier for this last one, as we saw Juno on Sniper for a moment, but the advantage is dwindling. 30% left, and Finland, they're going to fire this one in.
So bizarre. I mean, Jonas popped while he was on 150 HP and in the dispenser, while beforehand he didn't even pop when there were 3 players in his face and he was on 2 HP, but the push is going to come off regardless. Jonas is going to have it right now, and Voxtec is going to get Uber popped onto him. It's a similar sort of situation, just in the reverse scenario as we saw before. Derpy Hoofs falling in F as well. They were not able to go onto that high ground, and Robert's still going to get chased. Danny with the cleanup crew. Juno and Ems is still somewhere. Jonas falling to Juno while he was in that secret area dominating, dominated by Voxtec, but Ems falling. We only see those off classes from the Germans defending that last. I also know that a lot of those players, especially looking at Gezi and other players, have the tendency to have some cheeky off classes. We didn't really see that, but we see a push out from the Germans.
Yeah, it's going to be hard though, right? This spawn wave is super, super quick. There's now 5 Finnish players here on this second point, and they're going to have to leave it. The Germans, they are not getting off scot-free on this one. They're all the way back to their own last. There is a trap in lobby, which has finally been cleared by AF on the way in, but the pressure cook never ends, right? And the Finns, they're straight back in. 2 minutes left before round reset, and they're just already just bursting their way through. Junu going to be losing that fight over in water to Danny is going to mean it's going to be a fair bit harder to get in, as Am's just going to go for a point play.
And he's going to get about 3/4 of the point capped. Curry tried to sneak in, but Ems also battling Gezi in that river area. Maybe Gezi was not aware of him, I don't think so, but maybe he also thought he was out. Still, Ems is forced to be reckoned with, even if the information is relayed that he's still there. However, keep that in mind. 100% still onto both teams. We'll see if there will be any off classes as soon as Curry and Gezi respawn. No, never mind. Shocky on the Pyro, Voxtec on Engineer, usual lineup, and yeah, Juno is still trying to spam something.
Yeah, the cap time on point has actually like dwindled down a bit, but Ams has won another fight cleanly underneath against Danny, and this has dragged 2 players there onto the point. This is the time to spam the gun, this is the time to go for any sort of plays in, and they seek the opportunity, flying in with an Ubercharge used, but Jonas has not had to use this whole time, and the Ubercharge gets just the gun. It's basically nothing off the back of that, and despite the fact that Ams won that first fight underneath and dragged so many players down, it didn't really matter unless the back cap attempt from Corey can do anything. There's constant threat on this Gully Watch last. It's horrendous to defend in this regard, but it seems so far like the Germans doing a great job of just hanging on, and with a massive ad now, it seems like the Finns with 20 seconds left, they still want to come in and they want to try and fly through. Big bomb in onto Jonas, who still just doesn't have to use, just getting hit.
Only 10 seconds left before it resets, and Dotwif is also going to get charged by Shocky, and it takes the wind right out of his sails. The initiative is swinging once more to the Germans as the next mid-fight is going to commence shortly. Gezi cleaning up Derpy Hoofs, and the remaining cap time only has to tick it down now. Yeah, that was sort of not the play that won them, obviously, that round. The Finns just pushing through the Chadar. Decent idea, I'd wager, since the eyes were drawn away from that play, but only having Derpy Hoofs, and you know that Jonas has the technical capabilities, as we saw him dodging, weaving and diving earlier, so a solo demo man who isn't even fully loaded will definitely not force that enemy medic in that scenario, and that ended up with a failed last push anyway. There's the next mid-fight.
Yeah, big bombs across again from Germany over towards this Finnish plateau, but as previously we've seen them get lots of damage, and this time it's converted over into kills. As going to be 3 for the price of 2 for the German side, as Corey going to have to back all the way out with Robert, who are the last 2 survivors here, and I'm not sure how much longer they'll be surviving for, as it actually says that Moxie is taken down by the arrows from Robert.
Let's log
able
in
to live somehow.
Robert locks in. He's not going down there without a fight, and he doesn't scare any big name, you know. The usual suspects won that mid-fight for the Germans as the soldiers bombed quite aggressively forward, and the eyes were drawn to that, and it created so much space for the German scouts to rush in. Danny is a bit sold on that choke. I mean, he is a roamer. He's trying to shoot some trouble up, but he was culled in the end, and I'm not wearing the same rose-tinted glasses as maybe some Finnish friends, but only 4 minutes and 2 rounds to go to at least tie it, so they have to crash the issue soon as they claim Shocky as a lower lobby area.
Yeah, that's essentially 2 players down, because Danny's a slow respawner here, just going to be taking the river position. It means that there is potential to get in onto these players. Am's fighting around in choke. He's going to go 1-for-1, as actually basically everyone is getting cleaned up on this German side. Am's the one to walk in now. Jonas is going to surely have to force out eventually, but it's all now onto how many players does this Ubercharge take down. It seems like it's a demo man pick coming their way, which is a pretty huge one, and Foxy and Jonas able to get out alive. We saw beforehand, these Uber ad pushes, if you don't go straight away, Jonas can build up and potentially come in with some really annoying counter Uber really late on. I wonder if that's going to be a problem again this time. Derpy Hooves is a bit quicker than we saw before. with like the sort
It
of off-class
is
changes, but
it is such a large Uber advantage this time, so fingers crossed it won't be an issue. I'm guessing since they're all buffing their players up, but yeah, there they pounce through the shutter area onto F, not dropping him this time around. Also, Derpy Hoofs, you can have a lot more flashes to keep your players alive if the enemy medic is so far away from his own Uber, but they don't really get any picks. Gezi is falling, but so is Ams, and Shocky perpetually being shot very, very weak incrementally. The defense is holding Danny in the secret area. Menti is going to get shot at, but he's still surviving.
How are they alive?
So weak. The last straggling pipe, finding that enemy medic, Robert Living and Derpy.
Yeah, but there's 2 minutes 30 left. There's no time to rebuild another Uber charge and come for another go, right? You have to win here and now. And Finland, they clearly haven't got the memo. They're all the way back onto their own big door, and they're trying to build up and they're trying to come back through. But those positions, they have to go in your favour to come back in a situation like this. There were so many low HP German players, and to their credit, they clutched up big time. Players to the point, Danny went huge. I think Gazi has some good ones, Voxy as well. Everyone was just hitting all their shots the whole time, and it's so hard to push in those scenarios, but they were literally about 100 damage spread across a few players away from perhaps winning that one. But now they're going to have to push in. Yes, he's advantage again, but there's 1 minute 50 left on the clock, and they've got 2 rounds to find.
Also, if the Germans tick down another 10 or 20 seconds, even though if they lose that round here, then they're probably looking into very, very good shape, as this is TCM dream territory for the Finns currently, as Menti is going to fall, but the Uber is coming out of Jonas. You have mentioned it before. He is so clinical onto building the Uber and pouncing onto that point alongside with his players. That spells curtains for the efforts of the Finnish team. Might try to get one more like last point kept. I'm not even thinking that they will do it for salvaging some glory and not getting too depressed. Maybe trying to speak about the second map that is coming up. But it was so tactical. I loved that. A lot of rounds coming in the first like 12 minutes of the game, and since then we didn't really see anything else since those players played passive.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, as we sort of wind down, maybe we'll have a look at this. This last push that's coming in now is seems like Ams has already been taken down. Juno going to be forced out from underneath too, as Menti just continues to shell huge amounts of damage onto anyone who walks near this shut area too, meaning that there's basically no way, and all the doors are locked. The key is thrown away also, and that's how it's been pretty much the German side. And I've got to say, I don't know if you'd agree, but I think the last defenses from Germany have basically won the game here. Like, the amount of times they've held last on Dissad in even situations, it's been crazy, right? The Germans are doing such a great job every single time, and again, we're seeing it now as we go into that embarrassment garbage time at the end. Like, Finland have had more opportunities into last than Germany have, but yeah, the score's 3-1. Like,
on the contrary, I don't want to put some water into otherwise savory wine. I'm going to shut up for 10 seconds before I criticize a little bit. But yeah, we only see some last stragglers. Some players are patting their stats. F is saying I don't need good stats. But also, the Finns sort of allowed this German defense to come out. Obviously, you always have to keep in mind that those are top level players onto both teams. Maybe not all of them all the time, but you know, they have so much potential, and it's not a mere figment or surprise that both of those teams are in the quarterfinals, since there are a lot of strong nations and those teams and players have already shown what they can make do. But the Finns sort of lacking not even ambition but ideas, I'd say. Sometimes, you know, your enthusiasm makes up for a host of deficiencies, I'd say, but the problem is if you always try the same play, having one scout rush into water and then onto the last point, and that allows your soldier maybe to bump in. I never saw any off classes. I don't know about you, but even on the last point, I think we saw a sniper once or twice on Juno, sometimes peeking forward, but they needed to try something different. Yeah, maybe that's like a 20% or 30% play, but it's better than sitting on your 0%, since you see that the Germans are so good with reading the aforementioned approaches of you.
Yeah, that sniper play was actually super unfortunate as well for Finland, right? Because that's what I was alluding to later on, right? So Juno goes sniper, and like I think before Juno has even fired a shot, like there was an opportunity for like a bomb to come in, and Jonas gets forced, and it's like full ad. So Juno has to run all the way back to spawn, wait for I believe Ams is like a late spawner, who comes up, changes back off, and it basically means that by the time Ams and Juno have made it back to the rest of the pack in lobby to use in, Jonas has just built up 70% of an Uber again. Like, it just takes that long, and perhaps with an extra soldier, maybe they go for the play there, but like, that's just unfortunate circumstances, right? There's nothing you can do about it. Like you say, I like the idea of coming up onto Sniper, but like, again, the off classes, like, you can do all sorts, right? You can run a Pyro underneath, you can go for Spy, Sniper, whatever you want, right? But at the end of the day, like, for me, it was more like the Uber ad pushes that were the ones that were struggling, right? They were getting into Uber ad situations quite a lot, but not going to be enough. As they're losing map 1 on Gully Wash. We're going to be moving over to Process in just a moment, I believe, for map number 2. Before then, have we got any logs we can bring up?
Yep,
I never want to bring up logs. I also, since it was such a crazy game, my game just crashed. I only want to have 1 or 2 quick mentions also very generally about this, since we had a cold start on the intro about this Nations Cup. We also have obviously 4 quarterfinals. If you are really good in math, you can calculate that. And we have Sweden versus Hungary, England versus Poland, and France versus the Czech Republic going on parallel to this very game. But as you already saw, and if you're even tuning into it now, you are watching Germany versus Finland. Germany taking the very first map. It was a close fought game, but Germany is showing the dominion as the game did progress onto Gully Wash. We get to the rosters maybe in a little bit. I mean, you saw the players playing, but we still have to officially introduce them. I'm looking at the logs though. However, I'm going to give you the big brain analysis in a minute. I only want to look at medic stats, usually biggest brain class. Both medics though, looking at healing and Ubers used pretty equal across the board. Jonas showing his maneuvers, his survivability, but I gotta give credit to Robert as well. He was under a lot of pressure, especially when he was sometimes sold to the enemy's soldiers, and maybe we didn't point out a lot of serves and, you know, great tactical movements, but he had the positioning to back up his team. But yeah, those are sort of the medic stats I'm looking at. Also at the deaths, maybe 5 deaths coming out of Jonas, and 4 deaths, by the way.
9 total is crazy low. 9 deaths of medics across an entire game is crazy low. That's yeah, again, great job from both of them. I agree completely on that.
Yeah, you can take the rest now. I'm done with logs.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I like medic logs. This is super important. It tells a lot of the story, right? Because it was a lot of
I just don't want to laud DM players, you know, like.
Oh no, yeah, no, I agree, and like I agree completely. But I think the teams, it sort of shows, right, that when they were taking those trades, they were a lot of the time the teams were sort of responsibly getting out of bad situations, right? They weren't getting all caught in. They weren't getting, you know, like players trapped in the Uber exchanges or like going for too many heroics. But yeah, it was solid stuff. I just think, the deciding factor was the last pushes, and particularly the last pushes that happened at Germany's last when they were getting pushed on. And yeah, we'll see. Pros is obviously a different flavour of a map to Gully Wash, so we'll see if the Finns can perhaps bounce back on that one. It's known as a map which is particularly good for the scout players. And Finland, a country that is pretty much made up entirely of scout players, so should be one that they can potentially hope to bounce back on, as the game is going to be going live in a moment. So here we go, Process map number 2. If Germany win this, they are through to the semi-finals, and if not, we'll be going over to a map number 3. But here we are on Process for this first mid-fight.
Well, let's introduce officially the roster for Finland. Then Scout. No, never mind. Ems, F, Corey, then Juno, Dopey Hooves, and Robert, as no picks as of yet. Danny is a little bit just patrolling the area alongside his own IT area. It was Gezi having an early jump. Robert falling though to Danny. He comes in huge at the end, and Corey loses that 1v1 battle against Voxtech. They evacuate the premises expecting Dopey Hooves jump.
Yeah, Dopey Hooves gets a good bit of damage there, I think, onto Jonas too, who has to run all the way back to the pack over on second point. But that's going to be a really, really important mid-win coming in from Germany, and plenty of the cap comes through, but the cap is not finished off, so these spawners are going to be back spawning all the way back on last, and it's a really, really important survival there for the German side, especially from not just their medic, but the rest of their players too, because even if you keep your medic alive, you don't want to concede too much ground, but they haven't conceded any ground at all. They're already capping up second, and they've still got 75% Uber ad in the tank to work with. This could be a quick start here for Germany.
Corey was peeking out of 1, but never mind, he did not find the headshot, as this Uber is going to be imminent. The second point is being kept as we speak, and still 50% advantage. Also, since I'm going to get ostracized, I'm going to get to this thought in a little bit. Menti is going to get Ubered onto, and Voxtech also following along the lines of that, the tactical and technical warden of the sentry gun falling down. Juno also not on the field anymore. Derpy Hoof's eliminated, and let's see if they can perish any more players. Casey is in, but a lot of cap time. The players not close enough, and usual, yeah, like the usual suspects taking this Uber, causing, you know, so much mayhem. And in the first sort of 5 seconds, only a sentry gun was dealt with, but afterwards, all the players that were not close to spawn anymore got absolutely wiped out. I was mentioning I get ostracized if I don't mention that, but I mean Danny top fragging, and he showed like the map before, shows what he can do right now. You know, already shooting Derpy so weak.
Yeah, really nice conversion there. 2 minutes it took for that first round to come on the board, and Germany picking it back to exactly where they left off on that previous one. But this time they're under a bit more pressure on this mid-fight. Gazi taken down rather low, is going to have to get arrowed all the way back towards choke, but Af is the first one to fall. So Finland again going a player down early on as Voxy. He's traded out finally for that one, but this is getting quite messy for both these sides. Plenty of low players. There's bows flying around all over the place, trying to keep whoever they can alive. But Shocky might be the next one to fall. Caught out here on the rock. He's getting collapsed on a bit. Ams the one to find that one. But again, the frags are just trading back and forth, 1 for 1 every single time. And this mid-fight, will it ever end?
It will end now, since Derpy is alone against 5 players, and I'm not picturing him to get a 5k. They took way too long. Yeah, just jinxing it. They took way too long to kill Shocky in that position. They were also sort of on a little bit of a low ground there on Process, trying to push into then the enemy teams, like Germany's IT area. Shocky was perpetually weak, fell in the end, but it allowed so much space for his own team to cover the ground that they were still missing, and there were only really soldiers close, so that is why it took so long. Equal percentages, you got a lot, the Finns and spur them on still. What?
Is my HUD showing a babyface blaster from Shocky? Or is that a HUD bug? Or do we actually, can we have a check on the scatter gun? That is indeed a babyface's blaster from Shocky.
Well, what they don't make up in off classes, they make up in off weapon choices, I suppose. We also have F coming and rolling out on the sniper class once more through the one area, but Jonas is aware of it right now. Voxtech losing his head. Takes the head, throws it right out of the window. Danny is trying to control the one area.
Big bombs!
Salvage not any more casualties going onto his own team, but I mean, 1 rocket it was not enough though, as we see like prior to that, to force Jonas.
Yeah, it was a good effort. It was a good effort bombing all the way over the top there, but yeah, not alive. Just quite long enough there to get that second rocket off over on Junu, but I'm interested to see what the player uses Babyface's blaster, what it's going to do, what the whole big idea is, but so far I've not really seen much of that, because we've seen this sniper and the gun combining up to get so many frags, and Menti goes down 2, Demoman and a soldier falling. They do catch Junu at the end of that, but losing a Demoman makes it so much more difficult to start taking space in towards anything pretty much, as Danny is actually going to try and do it the other way around and get in onto Derpy Hooves, but is not going to succeed on that one. But in the meantime, Gazi has picked up, oh no, not a huntsman. Oh, the win as well! Nubby reincarnated on this one over onto Gazi, and yeah, we saw this a lot yesterday. Anyone who caught the Germany-Netherlands game yesterday, the huntsman was in full force on Process, and here it is again. Gazi going to be going in. If we get anything more crazy onto this last, if we get a drop onto Robert or anything of the sort, this will be absolute scenes.
Yeah, I mean, Ems takes a arrow in his right shoulder. Also has crits now stored, but Curry takes an arrow straight into his head, and it allows the opening for Teddy to bump in, since the sentry gun got turned into scrap and bolts by the stickies and this like sticky sake of Menti. It's still a sticky situation though. Speaking of it, F is surviving. Jonas claiming that frag, and a lot of stickies on that point. Shocky is finally nudging it out 2-0. The cheeky strats coming out.
This is crazy. Team Fortress 2 has been out over 16 years, right? ETF2L has been out for a good chunk of those, right? But it's only year 2024, the year where the meta shifts, and the Huntsman becomes the go-to weapon for sniper off-classes, winning the SVS and then getting the kill on the soldier, opening up the door. Danny with a great bomb in to get the drop, and it's 2-0. And again, as we saw in a complete mirror of last map, we're barely even 6 minutes into this game and the Germans coming out absolutely swinging. And again, this mid-fight taking so much ground early on, but they are going to have to concede it temporarily. Big shot coming in from Danny then to Corey.
And if you go up to 0, you have that gracious confidence of maybe, or even that opportunity to park the bus if things go awry. Derpy is very low on HP after he got double shot by Voxtech, who is still cleaning up house. Juno is a victim of that very ferocious scout who is still rushing to that sewer area and puts them completely into the dumpster. Robert has to kill Bind in the end, and it is the dominance of the Germans showing on process. It sort of has to process through the Finland team's mind that they shouldn't lose focus here. It's really difficult though, it might be a 3-0.
Yeah, no demo either, right? There's no FPV traps on point. The gun is barely getting built. The Uber charge already coming in. Now you see it could be a 3-0. I'm pretty certain that this will, unless something crazy goes wrong. And yeah, they just cap out the point. There's no defenses with this. When you're at Dissad and you've got no demo man or medics above people, like the job becomes so much harder, to the point of pretty much impossibility. And yeah, 3-0 up. Like they are flying through this game on process.
Without any ulterior motives in my head, I'm still believing that the Finnish can come back. I mean, they have the quality, and though not picturing the Germans, just seeing their momentum to... Well, I wanted to say they probably don't turtle and slow the game down, but Jonas takes a rocket. They stayed in their own choke, a little bit passive, and the beginning and advent of that fight, but Voxtech is one player to fall, and Danny also cleaned up by Ems. Some players falling in the reverse sort of scenario, but Germans simply don't have the positioning.
Yeah, Junior wants to try and spring a surprise here, but it seems that Shocky is all too early.
And
Corey's aware of Corey, who bombs and gets one good rocket off, but it's not quite going to be enough. Corey launched back to choke and dies upon landing. Menti credits him with that one, as it seems that the scouts and Menti too also want to charge through. There's no soldiers, I mean there's such less spam on these choke points, and they want to walk all the way back in low HP over from Robert too, who is just a slither of damage away from going down, and they're going to have to concede this midpoint finally. The one moment things looking good over the Finland side, and again the soldier bombs came in, right? Corey, it looked good, but was not able to land those shots.
It looked so well, it looked so promising, but the soldier might ruin their lives. Never mind, Yezi gets dealt with once more, and airshot. It seems like those soldiers can't get kills without getting airshots alongside with them, and F is going to chase Shocky through that IT area. He has that IT in terms of intelligence to back out, however. 2 players falling. Spawning now on the side of the Germans. Gezi still on a 3-second spawner. Jonas does have that Uber. They have to be aware of that and sort of playing the high ground with a double scout. The Finnish scouts parading onto that high ground and not really allowing the enemy team, the Germans, to push with their own Uber, but they also only waited for the spawners.
Yeah, good effort there, and they do finally get the force out, but the force is so late that that they're going to be potentially getting a fair few kills off of this one. Corey and Junu both going down. Danny did get caught out by that sink bomb from Junu, but that's going to mean now 5v4. They're going to start walking their way in. Robert's still at the 25% away from getting this Uber charge off, so there's potentially time to walk in already and start taking the ground, taking the space, but I'm just going to try and put a stop to that, and it seems like the rest of the Finnish team want to walk in on this. They've got an Uber charge ready to use, and it is advantage to the Finns as it's towards the choke. That is brutal from Derpy Hughes.
Absolute crush. Voxtech hiding in below the bridge, going to that lobby area, but it gets absolutely found out as well. Nuke in that choke, and the advantage flips to the Finnish. Maybe in the ascendancy, it is a much needed ascendancy for them. 30% advantage, and they still have at least 3 rounds to tie out. There's someone in the forward spawn going to get a back spawn. So I think for the first time now on process, I wanted to say we see them pushing in last with it. Yeah, I want to say pushing in last with the Uber advantage, but never mind. Voxtech is just going to get 2 players who are not ready for this counter aggression.
They losing absolutely everyone off this. Ams is maybe going to get onto Shocky eventually, and he's actually being chased out to last by Jonas. This is crazy, crazy scenes here. Robert does get out all the way. Ams in a fight against Menti and Jonas. This is a little bit weird over on the second point, but the second point, importantly, stays on the German side. So finally, Robert's going to get people to beam, but this Ubercharge advantage, I'm not sure anyone really knows what the ad is for either team at this point. So are Finland going to still want to go on this? Are they still confident that they might have ad over Jonas? Potentially so, but with Ams going down, there's one player down, so potentially gets a bit risky.
What an idiosyncratic play. I come to this thought in a little bit as both soldiers bomb through and Robert doesn't have the Uber. He can't pop it. 90% in the result and in the conclusion of that, meaning going toward Jonas. But I wanted to say, Ems, a little bit of idiosyncratic play. He could have backed out. He's obviously a pivotal player for his own team, but the rest of his own team need to be on the same wavelength. When he does those shots, he is not going to win a 1v5. One rocket onto Jonas. Does not force, does not pop, doesn't do anything. So once more, completely on the turf of the Germans is this push.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonas again able to get away scot-free on that one. No damage. Much meaning taken there as being two soldiers up now for the German side, able to cap out mid, and they've still got a huge advantage. We're getting a drop rather than a force. That means that Robert's going to take so much longer to build this one up. Midpoint's flipping, and I think second may also be flipping pretty quickly, potentially without even Uber being used. But they want to use the Uber, they want to go in and they want to do damage. The big shot's coming in. Corey with a nice air shot into Ghazi in the middle of all of that, but Voxy going to run through onto last to get one frag with a medic there to help out too. Derpy Hooves and the scout of AF on an island here on the second point, trying to defend their last spire, their last bit of territory. Shocky in though is going to get the frags with that Babyface's blaster and pistol combination. Second point capture Robert, the only one here to try and defend this. It's going to be tough on the sniper. They are going to get a little spawn wave in. There's potential for players to jump towards this point, but the sniper not able to land the all-important shots. 4-0. I did not expect this coming into this map.
Definitely not that fast. If you remember last map, like 12 minutes in, we had the end scoreline on that very map. It was a 3-1 until then, so the Finns were able to offer way more fight back then, but it's really difficult to wrap the heads around of what the Finns need to switch up. I feel like they're trying their best, but they need to focus a little bit more around Ems, as Danny and Gezi both fly in, but they don't find salvation. No, only going to get sent to the heaven depths even further, since they both were absolutely cleaned up. So the Finns once more try to push there, and Voxtek is still trying to club himself in the face to build an Uber. So now the Finns on the second point, and Shocky might even be dealt with.
Yeah, you're saying what they might change on the Finnish side. They have actually made a big change here. Ams is now over onto Soldier, and Corey is picking up the mantle on Scout. So that's the change they're going to go for, but like, at 4-0 down, is that going to be too little too late? It seems to be working out so far. They've capped the second point. It's going to be even Ubers, one player down on either side. This is as good of a situation as they've ever been in this game so far. But like, is it really going to work? Ams almost making good work of it so far, but is shut down quickly there from Ghazi and Jonas in combination. Corey getting caught out too in the lobby. Two players down now. And this is potentially opportunities for Sax to come in and attempt at Robert's life. And Judy there on the sniper, going to try and keep people alive. But finally, the Uber charge has to be forced out.
The soldier was not really the big danger. I mean, he was forcing Robert out of position, and Voxtek therefore ran in through the lower lobby area. Shot the medic so low, he had to force, and then the rest of the players came in. Uber popped onto those players that are joining the fight, and that enables them to push the second point comprehensively on the Germans. Is huge rocket onto Menti by Ems, and then the headshot from Juno. They're mixing some trouble up. Second headshot onto Voxtek. He doesn't want to stay in the fight, otherwise he's not long for this world, but Juno is going to get double meat shot.
Yeah, there's players still flinging himself in Ghazi, hitting some crazy rockets. Okay, does not quite manage to get that kill over onto Derpy Hooves, but the players aren't spawning back up to the German side, so this temporary player advantage is just that, it's just temporary, so they're going to be careful now when the reinforcements come in on the German side, but are they going to be there in time? Ghazi is going to be caught out alone on the low ground as Danny comes in to try and salvage. He's going to go 1-for-1 also, so still two soldiers down now for the Germans. The pressure cook continues, and who is going to be the first one to fire off these Ubers? Ams might be forcing it.
He is going to force it, and they're going to also use this Uber onto Shocky, and right now I can safely call them zoomers as they're zooming around there with the fully... Shocky is as far as from a zoomer as you can tell, but you know, so many kmh or like miles per hour in his own scattergun. They're going to still fight the second point though. Derpy Hoof's completely caught out dry in the open.
Yeah, absolutely. And
also
Shocky, no way, he gets it on the medic. Huge plays straight through IT, flying through, zooming as you could say, as Am's going to try and go for a salvage. Almost hits the air shot there, but yeah, just Robert completely caught off guard by that play through IT, and this is going to be a really big advantage. They get a couple of forward spawns, so maybe there can be some attempt to slow proceedings down on the second point, but mid-point's going to flip, and Jonas 85%. We've been here before, and this has gone very well the last couple of times for Germany.
And it has been catastrophic for the Finns. They even have this uber disadvantage and going to get shot apart from the long range areas. Also Yunu falling to Denny, not able to back out early enough. The full uber advantage push is going to come out onto Menti, onto a Voxtech. Usual Kuti. I can't even speak anymore. 5-0 maybe in a second. Never mind. Some players are still trying to cause havoc. Denny on the spawn.
Oh, the bombs come in finally. Robert with a big surf, but does not manage to survive that one. Voxy finally going to finish that one up. But this has got very messy. The players on this German side have been dropping like flies, to be honest, during this Uber. It's going to be a game of can they get Jonas out alive? It does not seem to be the case. Corey is going to be finishing off that one as Danny jumps back in. Tries to sell that. Shoki's going last, actually. Shoki just wants this.
I don't want to say that Derpy looked derpy there, but I mean, Shoki is still on that last, and now Gezzy's bombing, but again, air shot. Those players can't get frags without getting air shots, I'm telling you. Anyway, the accidental genius of pushing out sort of segmented on the Finns was that they don't all completely wipe when one scout comes in and they still have 1 or 2 players left behind after Shoki then tries to go for the last cap, but the Germans are still in. They try to fight this no Uber into play. Jonas down to about half HP.
Crazy direct hit usage from Ghazi as well.
They're going to explode though, the Finns with so much damage, only Gezzy forward, but not long for this world.
Yeah, good attempt there, but eventually this damage on the low ground is so good for the Finns as they're going to fly through, and are they going to catch anyone else on the way out here? Voxy is able to win out that important fight there against Junu. The second and mid are going to be capped up by the Finns. I wonder how many forward spawns he's going to deny. Are the soldiers going to get them? It seems that the soldiers denied all the way back to last, so that's going to make a reasonably big difference here in terms of this pushing. They wanted to go for something quick, but it doesn't really seem like they're sold on that idea. They're just going to chill and maybe go for the long haul.
The scouts have gained so much confidence on the German side. Whenever they get double bombed by a soldier, they say, let's go, come on, DM me. It's sort of an optical migraine for me as there's a Danny jump through the choke area. The Finnish soldiers on the flip side are always 1 second too far away from their own team when they do these bombs. It could have almost been really great. We are knocking on 11 minutes. The Finns don't want to give this up at all, and it slows down. Mayhaps don't see any off classes.
Yeah, it's all on what these soldiers should do. If you're not going to off class, its eyes go over towards Ams and go towards Junu and see what plays they can go for. Can they go for some sort of coordinated play? Can they potentially get over onto Jonas or even onto any other class? It seems like they're grouping currently over towards IT, and it actually seems they're just going to go in and trade. They're just going to get their frag onto Danny and just use the Uber to take as much space as they can. Bombs come in finally. Looks like Junu going to be denied completely in midair. No one even laying a hand over onto Jonas, who is just alive the whole time.
I mean, that was interesting play, the combo fight that you pointed out, but also Shoki was running just rings and around on the top of Derpy as he just didn't see him and got pistoled down essentially in the end. But the Germans not really in a position to push out. They might try to peer their eyes onto that mission in IT as they are all assuming some forward positions now.
Yeah, Shocky there, I think, trying to catch Jams off guard with the Babyface's blaster speed, because that Babyface's blaster was at 99%. It was, Shocky was flying, but is caught out. And Ams is the one to win that one out, so I guess on the flip side, Ams, the air shots are crazy, right? Like, both teams clipping out of their mind. But I was going to say, it's like...
Oh! And even the headshot has to be mid-air. Like, F jumps out, gets shot in the backhead as he tries to escape his infernal doom. Danny going to leap up all the way into the sky. The Uber was forced consequently though, and Corey is going to get a shot apart by Voxtech, who is further on going to hunt Derpy Hoofs and Robert down.
Oh, brutal. Really, really good Uber here from Voxy. And that's 3 players down now for the Finnish side. But AF is actually coming in with 2
Suppressive
AMs
fire.
as well.
Yeah.
AMs coming in onto the medic now. Can they get anything over onto Jonas, who's still 30 HP? Derpy Hoofs is not able to land the shot so far. The Solemn Vow is out, and the Solemn Vow, do no harm, well, harm is done. The way of Derpy Hoofs, who goes down to it coming from that melee weapon. So, forward spawns, 3 forward spawns denied too as well. This is looking pretty rough here if you're on the Finnish side.
So much damage into rollout by Danny, but was not able to secure a kill. He gets basically shot apart by a scout. His hard counter but into close areas could have definitely worked. The real solemn vow for me is why Derpy Hoofs was not shooting the enemy medic. Were they not relaying the information the medic was 50 HP while the enemy scout he was trying to pipe was 185?
Can we show that for a moment, because I think we're about to have some archery 1v1s. I think we've got double huntsman on the board.
I mean, I'm going to give you the credit
this.
for that. Yeah.
Who wins this? Danny versus AF. Who wins the huntsman 1v1?
It's going to take some time to resolve. Never mind. Randy is the first casualty of that 1v1 sniper duel.
Yeah, I hope they've used a Julie minigame on this one. Oh, no way, no way.
What the hell? I mean, the arrow was flying toward Robert, but it didn't even hit him. They're still going to get plucked for. Juro is trying to control the area. Derpy Hoofs. By the way, Voxtech is in a 7k and he's going to take this Uber 8k now for him, and this might be the cleanup crew.
Yeah, absolutely. With his Uber charge, everyone's moving themselves forward towards the second one. You kind of have to, right? 4 rounds to find in 8 minutes. Not easy at all, but Corey can have a big meal on here with Junu. They're just getting absolutely mulched by this Uber. The 10k comes up from Voxy, who has been an absolute tear in this 5th round. And Ghazi, I think that might have been splashed off the top of the roof there on that air shot attempt. But either way, this is almost certainly going to be 5-0. It is going to be 5-0. Germany, they're going to move on to the semi-finals in, honestly, a super convincing performance on Process. I did not see that one coming a mile off after how close Gully Wash was, but the Germans, they stepped up where it mattered, and they have earned themselves another spot in the top 4.
They just take it home like that. I was hoping for the Finns to have some comeback rounds at least. I'm pretty sure, even though you're trying to sell the convalescent measures for them, that not a lot of players were predicting or expecting them to get 4 more rounds to tie it out, but it was a huge and steep mountain to climb. I'm still not thinking. I mean, the 5-0 is a bit brutal there on face value. You might think that the Finns might be served a little bit better, you know, just on terms of scorelines, maybe like 4-1 or something, not 5-0 in the end result, but it's still a loss. It's still a loss in 2 maps. The Germans being so strong as the game progressed. Early on Gully Rush, I don't want to say they looked shaky, but the Finns were able to control way more area with their soldiers, and especially on the midpoints, they were winning that. I was vying for it since those soldiers mainly bombed into the air and forced all the ice to them, and that allowed Ems and F to rush in. Now we had a switch up there from Ems to Soldier, and the other player then onto Scout. Managed to be the surprise factor early on, but those soldiers also from the Germans were suppressive. I'm going to take a way out long shot here and say the Scouts won for Germany, though. This second map, like, so suppressive fire, they completely toggled on and were tearing through absolutely everything.
Yeah, absolutely right. And this is like obviously for the Nations Cup, right? A lot of teams, they get sort of like shifted around, right? People are playing with teammates they may not have done with for quite a while, right? But Voxy and Shocky, they've been playing together now in the in Premiership for a fair few seasons. Went to LAN together as well. Like they know each other at the back of their hands, right? Like it's they're so well coordinated, and yeah, on a map like Process, when you've got that going, and yeah, we've got the logs on screen now, both of them running pretty strongly on this this second map. But yeah, what a performance, right, from Germany. And yeah, like you say with the Finland, like the swap round, they had Ams and Corey swap round. Like I like the idea, and to be honest, I think it did kind of work. I think as a team, it sort of seemed to mesh together a bit better in that final round. But like doing that at 4-0 down, like I think even if it does work perfectly, I almost feel like it's too late at that point.
It definitely is too late. I mean, everything else I'm describing as convalescent measures. People that are not casting and are on Twitch chat can just say, you're coping. I mean, it is what the Generation Z is telling these days. And I also want to point out 12 medic deaths this time. Unfortunately, a little bit inadequately shared. 10 deaths onto Robert,
Yeah.
only 2 deaths onto Jonas, who also gets 2 kills, 1.0 KD, but more importantly, 11.0 KAD. It's the duty and the benevolent advantage of a medic who is on the winning team and only beams a scout who absolutely tears through everybody. Even though Menti gets top heals there, Robert 2 drops on his own side, also sizably more heals per minute by Jonas. Last map, the kills, total kills, were sort of similar. Now we have 30, or well, banking on it, 24 frags more on the German side. 29 frags go the way of Voxtech, 8 diffs, only 5.6 KD, 3.6 KD for everyone who wants to read numbers that you can read on your screen, you know, be read out loud. But yeah, I guess that was it from me so far. I don't know if you see anything else, but I guess we're safe to wrap this up in a short bit.
No, yeah, it's obviously 5-0 logs. There's only so much you can glean from the right, but all I can say is all I can glean from that is I'm very impressed with Germany, right? Like they're a team that have had they've had good history in the Nations Cup and they've made quarterfinals in every single attempt they've had, and this time they're going one further. They're making it into the semi-finals, and their one victory they came all the way back. I believe it was 2013. Shockey was on the roster back then as well, so bit of a long-standing one. Maybe going to be hoping to run it through again this time, but there's going to be some tough opposition waiting in those semi-finals. It's not confirmed yet. The other games are still ongoing, as we said earlier. There's 4 games happening simultaneously right now, and this is just the one that we've decided to stream for this one. But Germany looking super, super strong going into that top 4. So we'll be back tomorrow, 19 for those semi-finals, and then again 21:15 for the grand finals. See who will be lifting the Nations Cup number 10. So do join us. I'm Ben Blue. We've had Demeter with me. We've had Stu and J-Max doing the production, but we'll see you all tomorrow for some semi-final action.